The Via Francigena, that name, it just conjures up this image, right? Of a single ancient road, an epic path carved right across Europe. But here's the thing, the story of this legendary pilgrimage route, it's really not what it seems. In fact, the single most important thing to understand about it is that it wasn't a road at all.
And yeah, this is the image we all have in our heads. That single iconic line stretching all the way from Canterbury down to Rome. It's the picture of a pilgrimage of a lifetime, a journey of just, immense scale. And for a very long time, this simple map, well, that was accepted as the whole story.
And the scale here is it's staggering. We're talking about roughly 2,000 kilometers. Think about that. It's a truly monumental undertaking that, for centuries, really made people ask a very simple question.
I mean, when you think about the great Roman roads, right? They were engineered, they were built, they had architects. So who built the Via Francigena? Who's the person responsible for laying down this single continuous path? Well, here's where it gets interesting, because the answer, it's probably not what you're thinking.
So let's talk about this 2,000-kilometer legend. The idea of one single great road it's powerful, for sure. But believe me, the truth is way more interesting.
Because here's the twist. The Via Francigena wasn't a road. At least, not in the way you and I think of a road. Historians now see it as something completely different. A corridor. Okay, so what on earth does that mean?
All right, let's break this down. On the one hand, you've got the myth, this single, paved, almost Roman-style road. But the reality? Oh, it was something else entirely. It was this messy, dynamic network of dirt tracks, old mule paths, all of it evolving over centuries. It wasn't built in one go, it grew organically. So this is the key idea right here, this corridor of movement. The best way to picture it is like a braided river instead of a straight man-made canal. If a bridge washed out, well, travelers just found another way to cross. If some local lord got greedy and put up a new toll, merchants would find a route around him. If a war broke out, the entire path could shift. This thing wasn't static at all. It was alive. It adapted to survive.
Okay, so if it wasn't built, how in the world did it get formed? Well, it was forged. Forged layer by layer, not by engineers with blueprints, but by the two great forces that shaped the entire Middle Ages: power and faith.
And you can actually watch this process happen over time. It really starts in the 7th century as a Lombard military route, just a safe way to get troops around. Then, Charlemagne's Franks come in and give it its famous name, the Via Francigena, literally the road from Francia, or France. Fast forward to 994, and Archbishop Sigeric gives us the first real written record. And by the 10th century, boom, it's in its golden age, one of the great highways of faith in Europe.
And Sigeric's diary, honestly, this is the key to everything. It wasn't just some casual travel log. Nope, it was the first detailed 79-stage itinerary of the route. This one single document is our historical anchor. It's the foundation for the entire modern path we know today.
So all this history sets up a really fascinating contrast. What was it actually like to travel this corridor back then compared to the experience of the thousands of people who walk it today?
Okay, first off, forget everything you know about scenic hiking. For a medieval pilgrim, this journey was an ordeal. We're not talking paved paths, we're talking muddy tracks. There was the constant, ever-present danger from bandits and disease. A sudden flood could literally wipe out the path ahead of you. This wasn't a vacation, it was a profound act of survival and, of course, of faith.
But today, the journey is completely different. It's one of choice. People walk it for culture, for a personal challenge, for connection with others and with history. So even though the physical path echoes the past, its meaning in the modern world, yeah, that's been totally transformed.
And get this, for a lot of medieval travelers, Rome wasn't even the end of the line. The corridor actually kept going all the way south to the ports of Puglia. Why? Because that was the gateway for pilgrims and crusaders heading off to the Holy Land. So the Via Francigena wasn't just a road to one city, it was a superhighway to the wider world. So after centuries of kind of fading into obscurity, the Via Francigena has been completely reborn. It's not just a relic of the past anymore, it's really become a path for the future.
And this revival didn't just happen by accident. It was a really deliberate effort. It all kicked off with historians rediscovering the route back in the 70s and 80s. Then they got inspired by the huge success of Spain's Camino de Santiago, and a real movement started to grow. Eventually, it got official status as a cultural itinerary of Europe, and now it's a flagship example of what we call slow tourism, this idea of reconnecting people with both the landscape and its history.
And true to its origins as this super flexible corridor, it's now a multifunctional route. People walk it, sure, but they also cycle it. It's part of the Eurovelo network, and you can even ride it on horseback. Just like in the past, its adaptability is still its greatest strength.
So when you boil it all down, the Via Francigena is not some dead road on a map. It is, and it really always has been, a living system of routes shaped by power, faith, and movement across Europe. It's like a living organism that just continues to evolve.
And that leaves us with one final thought. The story of the Via Francigena is a great reminder that the paths we inherit from the past, well, they aren't just for looking at in a museum. They are still actively shaping our economies, our cultures, our identities. So the real question for all of us is, how do these ancient corridors continue to guide our own journeys today?